Okay, waiting for people to join. All right, here we go.
Fantastic. Good to go. We are live. How exciting. Fantastic. And we're super excited. We have Doc Heather with us today, and we have such a treat for you. And Suzida is going to go ahead and introduce Doc Heather, and we're going to have and start our conscious conversation, and we are super excited about it.
Absolutely. Thanks, sister, and welcome, Doc Heather. I'm going to introduce Doc Heather now. So, well, first of all, we're going to be talking about some very deep topics, very serious topics. And we're going to talk about narcissism, suffering in silence, isolation, depression, and even suicidal thoughts. And we're going to go on the complete opposite of that. We're going to talk about abundant wealth, healthy living, and living every day joyfully no matter what. And in this conscious conversation, we have here with us Doc Heather. Heather Lewis, otherwise known as Doc Heather, is a money mindset and medicinal holistic healer and success strategist. She's also a practicing licensed MD, founder of Driven and Live in Community, a veteran of the United States Armed Forces, and an empowerment of us women. Yay! Her life's work is coaching others to have more money, to allow them to step away from suffering in silence, social isolation, and ultimately those suicidal tendencies that can result from frustrating relationships that drain your energy. And here we are, Doc Heather. Welcome, Doc Heather.
Welcome.
Thank you. I don't know if I can just take the stage, but I want to say this. I'm going to set this intention right now. Yes, this is very, very heart-centered, deep information that we're going to touch on as far as I want to eliminate thoughts of suicide. Hear me, eliminate the thoughts. Because if we don't even have the thoughts, we don't even have to worry about the actions, right? We don't even have to worry about the attempts. But I want you all to know who's watching this right now. We get to start having fun right now. We get to start having joy right now. And if you're anything like me, if you're in that place where that narcissist is getting to you, you were this blossoming flower and now you're wilted and dying, you're going to need this. So we're going to talk and we're going to get pumped and we're going to share some light and some energy and talk about wins. And we're going to validate where you are, but we're not going to stay there long. We want to make sure that you're aware of how to get out of that. Even if you're not ready to leave that situation, leave that relationship, how you can get out right now in your psyche, in your mind, and be able to enjoy the day, enjoy your life, enjoy yourself. So I'm excited. Thank you all for allowing me to come speak.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for that, Heather. That just that got me fired up. I'm like, so let's get right into it with this conversation.
Yes.
And I love how you put that fun on it. It's like even in something so serious like narcissistic abuse and really being able to escape something that takes a lot of strategy. I would love to, for anybody who's going through that right now, I mean, it's not a fun process, but it's something that, with the thriver's mindset is something that can definitely be achieved. Like this is an experience that as someone who's a thriver from narcissistic abuse myself, this is something that's really dear to my heart, and to bring your wisdom to the people. And for people who are actually currently going through it, to really shine some light and illuminate what those things look like and some of the things that they can do. So I'm really excited for people to experience this. So
go ahead.
Yes. No, go ahead.
I hear you saying, what can they do? What can they do right now? The honest thing is right now, and the best thing you can do for yourself is make a choice, okay? And it really is your choice. Now, you may not feel like you have that ability, especially if the narcissistic relationship is a personal relationship and it has become abusive. Sometimes a lot, and I talk to my clients, I talk to women about this, losing control, right? You don't feel like you have control over your situation, over your life, over yourself, but you do. Okay. It doesn't mean you have to announce it like, hey, I am taking control today and I am no. But in your heart, in your mind, make a choice. That choice being, if you know this is not where you're supposed to be, this is not where you want to stay, this is not where you want to remain, make that choice. Okay, that's a big, huge step. You know, first of all, we have to acknowledge, hey, this is unhealthy for us. Awareness and acknowledgement is a huge one. But more than likely, we know that, right? A lot of us don't trust our insight. We don't trust our instinct. And we know, yeah, this doesn't feel right. I don't think it's supposed to be like that. And how many of us hear the concept, oh, that's just how life is. That's just how men are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, I've heard it plenty of time. And I want you to know that narcissism is not just seen in our personal life. It can be seen in our professional life too. Oh, well, they went through a hard time, so you gotta have to go through a hard time too. No, you don't. No, you don't. Right. So there's this awareness about it. But once you are aware you're in a comfortable place, you're unhappy, you are the one who gets to choose to take back that control and your happiness and your joy. So the first steps are make the choice. It is literally that simple. Just make the choice.
Beautiful. So Doc Heather, you're getting into some really juicy stuff. Now, I want to kind of get back to foundations and get back to the basics. A lot of people going through these things like e-presence, you're like, sometimes you don't know, you don't trust yourself. What are like this term has been thrown a lot around, especially in this modern age, as more people are becoming aware of narcissistic abuse and what those patterns look like. But many people still don't know, like, what does this look like? What is it? Like, what is this term that people are throwing around, sometimes very frivolously? Can we go a little bit deeper to kind of define or give a clearer picture of what some of these things look like so people can then come from an empowered place and choose to be able to choose something different?
Absolutely. So I want to say this, first of all, I have this little tool. It's called the Dirty Dozen Quiz. And it is 12 simple questions, yes or no, that you get to answer and kind of grade yourself on, hey, am I in a relationship that's narcissistic? And like I said, it's not just strictly personal. It can be personal, professional, or friendship, because people miss out on that. So a basic like 3 concepts. I like to work in triads. So here is a triad of what a narcissist uses, characteristics of a narcissist. They are very, very self-centered. When I say self-centered, meaning they are only absolutely consumed with self. You can term them selfish, self-centered, self-absorbed. 2, they want your attention. 100% of the time, they are seeking attention. They are throwing temper tantrums, and they can be adult temper tantrums. They are doing things that you will chase them. Please beg them to come back because they want attention, and attention comes in good and bad forms. Okay. If you have children, think about how children, when they want something, they're going to manipulate you until you give it to them. So think about attention seekers. And then the last thing that's usually key is, and I think a lot of people think or resonate with this one. When it comes to you, when you are in need, big one is, especially as me as a physician, when you're sick, okay, you got the sniffles, you got a cold, and you're looking for someone to give you a little energy, give you some care. Hey, can you pass me that tissue? And somehow they turn it around and it's about them, and they're not able to just simply give you a tissue, give you chicken noodle soup. Yeah, they might be a narcissist. Yeah, they might be so focused on them because they really lack empathy. And I want you to know it's not to make the person bad. Okay, narcissism is, this is my medical rabbit hole here. Narcissism is a mental illness per se. It is a mental diagnosis. It's called a personality disorder. Okay, characteristics are based on, usually a lot of them have childhood traumas. Childhood traumas can lead from abuse, sexual trauma, emotional, verbal, physical trauma, okay? And they're not healed. So what happens is they get stuck in a childhood state, and as they grow older, they never learn how to cope, how not to protect themselves. Okay, so what I say is those three characteristics are they're very self-centered. They are protecting themselves. 2, they want your attention, because think of a young child, a baby needs your attention. 3, they lack empathy. They lack compassion, not necessarily purpose to hurt you. That's a whole different discussion, but it results in looking like it hurts you because they want it all for themselves. They need that energy for themselves, if that makes sense. So I'm going to do it one more time because just like I like the triads, self-centered, seek 100% of the attention, and lack compassion, lack empathy for others. Those are usually the general characteristics, but I'm not trying to diagnose. I don't want you going out and saying, hey, you're a narcissist. It is literally something that a mental health provider would diagnose, but there's a good chance if you have that in one person, and ultimately for you, if you're feeling drained all the time, you're not getting your needs met, yeah, it's probably one of those type of relationships.
Okay. Wow. How illuminating, Doc Heather. And you're getting into some really juicy stuff. So speaking about, so we got back to foundations, and I know there's like a sliding scale, right? It can get really, really deep. And like you said, this is not necessarily a place where one can diagnose, but you brought up something really interesting. Or like, for example, us, like this is, a personality disorder. There are distinguishable things that set narcissists apart from, people who might have narcissistic qualities, which on a sliding scale, pretty much everyone does have, because there's some level of trauma, some level of, healing that has been done across the board. However, what came up when you were saying that was the narcissistic abuse, and when it comes up for, like, how do you, so in my personal experience, we're going to have a juicy conscious conversation right now. So in my personal experience in the relationship, there were times when, like you were saying, it gets mirrored back at you, and what a strategy of the narcissist will come back at you and say, well, you're the narcissist. Can we get into that and how it makes people feel who are actually empathic or super empathic, who feel that, and then you start questioning yourself and doubting yourself. Can we get into that juicy goodness? Because I know there are a lot of people that can relate to that, being in that dynamic, that very psychologically abusive dynamic where those things are showing up for them and they are being, in a sense, gaslighted to think that. Let's get into that. Could we get into that, Doc Heather?
And I was just getting ready to say that. That is the term. That is the modern day term, gaslighting. Another kind of medical mental health term is projecting. You heard of that one? Projecting, transference. Well, it's not really me, it's you. And, one of the classic things I do in my workshops is talk about exactly that. So one of the things that, first of all, it's awareness. For you as the person who's in this relationship, you are absolutely attracted. You are the most attracted being to that narcissist because you have that energy and you said it, because you are the empathetic person. And guess what they need? Empathy. They are like, please give me all of it. Like, you are the ball of energy and empathy, and they need that to keep living. You are their source. Just like I said, this is very much similar to a baby and parent lifestyle relationship. I mean, it can literally feel like that.
So fascinating.
And what happens is, as an adult, you have been placed in this parent role, but you're thinking, this is another adult. Why am I not getting fed myself? Because the childlike person is getting fed tons. You're like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, but you're not getting fed. And guess what happens when you're not getting fed? You get drained, right? So one of the things that they do is the gaslighting. the manipulation, the projection, the transference. And what does that mean? That means you go into a conversation set. You're like, you know what? I'm going to let them know. I'm going to give them a piece of my mind. I know. I saw it with my own eyes that they cheated on me. I know it. I got all the proof. I got all the receipts. And somehow you leave that conversation defending yourself. How did you do that?
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. But I didn't. Well, wait. But I was. Well, what were you doing? Why were you watching me? Well, who did you think it was? What?
Oh my God, yes.
And you're frustrated, and they've moved on, and they made you feel guilty and ashamed, and you said it too. The cycle continues because what happens? You start to doubt yourself. You start to question your instinct. Wait, I know I saw it with my own eyes.
Yeah.
And you question like, well, did I see it? Was it him? Was it her?
Did this happen? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Did this happen?
Yeah.
And you know what? And that's how I came to the whole, you become socially isolate because you start to question yourself. You know, you're not secure in environments, right? You're not secure around people, and they don't want you because guess what happens if you're around others who are aware? They're going to remind you. So if one or more people see the same thing, then they can't gaslight you as well. Does that make sense? Like if you see it in somebody else, so the two of you sisters here, you know, are like, hey, we both saw it. That one person may have a harder time of trying to convince both of you all, no, you didn't see it. You didn't see it. Does that make sense? And that's how the isolation occurs.
Yeah.
You see why? Go ahead.
Now, Doc Heather, what about in instances where one grows up in a household with a narcissistic father? How does that trauma play out later on in life? Especially for victims. Yeah.
No, especially for victims for what?
Especially as a female.
Oh, that's huge. Okay, so I am a child of a narcissist. I will not reveal what parent, but here it is. It is very likely. So two main characteristics of those who, and I'm going to use this very lightly. I don't like this version, but fall victim to narcissistic relationships are those who are extremely compassionate, empathetic, and those who have grown, who are parented by a narcissist. Okay. And what happens is, guess what? You continue to cycle in that. And if you notice, if you take the awareness and the time to get into your work to heal, you will notice that your life is in cycles. Okay. Because narcissism works in cycles. There are good days, the honeymoon phases, and then the down. A lot of that came out of the narcissistic diagnosis because you have your good days and you have your bad. I use the analogy of the daisy, you know, like when we used to pick the game, like, you know, he loves me not. He loves me not. And you're using the same flower and it just continues to go until you get to that last one and you figure out which way. Well, a lot of times the narcissist is the same temperament. 1 minute they're the loving, you know, as they say, they're love bombing you, and the next minute they're your worst enemy. Okay. And you really don't know what may have triggered them. Okay. So for that childhood person who has had the trauma, the biggest thing I say, and I do it through my program, awareness. We start from there. We start your healing process with that Dirty Dozen quiz. First of all, can you acknowledge that you're in a relationship with a narcissist? Again, it can be professional, it can be personal, it can be friendship. And if you can identify, yeah, I probably got all three, which I did. I had personal relationships, I had professional relationships, and I had friendships that were narcissistic relationships. Yeah, I might have been parented by one, and I can go back and search that out and then do the work accordingly. And the work accordingly is really being aware so then you can take the steps to protect you. Because the desire is, no one wants to be alone. I want to say that. No one wants to be alone. We all are deserving and wanting to be loved. And now it is just the steps of choices that we make to receive that love. Okay? And if that narcissist, and you know, we can talk about that too, but if that narcissist is not willing to get the work done for themselves, then that may be need of we divide that relationship and we do what we have to do to get the love. And Shauna, I want to make sure that I go back to the gaslighting, because that's huge. You know, that is something that, you know, when you say, how can people, honestly, the biggest thing on you, they're going to turn it back on you, and you're less likely to fall into that trap again. It's not 100% guaranteed, but you're less likely because you're going to expect that. So you have to kind of keep that narrow focus of, if I'm going in to speak. But here's another thing. Narcissism, because of that lack of empathy, they don't really hear you. So you can be very convincing, you can be very vulnerable, but it doesn't mean that they're going to hear you to help you heal that, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So then there's another choice that needs to be met there. So it's kind of like, depending on what type of relationship it is, will kind of guide what steps we take. Meaning, if it's personal, there, like I said, there may be a need to sever that relationship, or you may need to meet that person there, and you manage your expectations of that relationship. Okay, parent to child. If it is truly your biological family member, you don't want to necessarily cut them out, but you manage that relationship. You're not going in thinking, hey, mom, dad is going to love me, when they're narcissistic, right? Show me love like I show them love, but you continue to love, and you're okay with them not returning it as you do, because you know where they're coming from.
Now, you mentioned awareness being huge, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. So much begins with awareness. But what if you're aware and you're aware and you're scared and you still doubt and you're feeling disempowered to do anything with that awareness, right? Because I've been in that situation. I was in a long-term 8 years relationship with someone that I might label a narcissist. And it was, I just remember being so enrolled in their story of me and the kind of woman that I was. And I believed it, and it was hard for me to see any other way, even though I had some awareness, but there was that lack of trust, I guess you can say, lack of trusting myself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You were absolutely what I said. You didn't trust your instinct. You were insecure in that manner. You didn't have the confidence that you knew what was really in you and that your insight was spot on. So you all are talking right into my program here. So thank you. And that is honestly the first step. I don't know if you can see it's ending right over my head. Confidence. So it's not a simple, I don't want to make it like a simple task, okay? Because that work is not necessarily simple. The choice is. And when I say the choice is simple, it's because it will be you being enrolled into who you are in your vision. So when I say, Suzana, you are a loving woman. You are a powerful woman. You are a powerful leader. Is this relationship allowing you to be fully expressed, powerful, sensual, leader? And you say, no, it's not. Then we talk about why it's not working and why do you want to hold on to what's not working for you. Does that make sense? Yeah. Now, a lot of times this has to be behind the scenes. This gets to be behind the scenes because you're not talking to that person and you're like, hey, Doc Heather said that this isn't working, and you're not, because that person will absolutely, oh, somebody's trying to pump you up.
Yeah. Attack. Yeah, they will attack.
That attention needs to be on me.
Yeah.
Right? Think about that. That is their mission. The attention needs to be on them. So it is about, we have to get the focus back on you. And as you start to see that, and remove some of the layers of their convincing, because it is their convincing. Okay. They've won your heart over because they have convinced you of that. And more than likely, you've isolated yourself from those who have been connected to you and can tell you differently. Does that make sense? That's why I am so focused on the whole social isolation, because when you're disconnected socially, you have nothing to counteract that one person. And it's so amazing how one person can make a difference. And I'm telling you, this one person is enough to believe in you to make the difference, to counteract it.
Wow.
If you're ready for it, we're going to move it.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
It only really takes one. And that's why we get so isolated that we're in a bubble, we're in a corner, we're sitting at home crying, watching Netflix, and they're out and about, because they want us disconnected. They don't want us seeing that this is real life and you have power in you, because they want all that power for themselves.
This is so important right now too, right? In the time where maybe feeling more disconnected, and during a time when we have an opportunity to choose to be more connected in a community in an elevated and empowered, confident way. So, oh gosh, this conversation is so good.
And I agree. You're so right. And I am so motivated. You know, you all, we spoke earlier, and I was going to say, this is so key for right now, because what has happened, if you haven't heard, the statistics are going up. Look at it. Verbal abuse, domestic violence, violence against those women, pregnant women. Oh my gosh, 75%. I heard the rate recently. That's disgusting. It is disgusting. But because it is like the perfect situation, because we're, there's fear of the virus, there's fear of the pandemic, there's the request for us to socially distance. And I like that preferred. Socially distant, not isolate. Socially distant. So when you and I can get on the internet and talk via Zoom, we're still socially connecting. Okay. We're still being safe in the pandemic bubble. It's still connecting us. This is still worthwhile.
Yes.
So I definitely understand that. And that's empowering. And, even if you just watch a YouTube video or watch a Facebook Live like this, connect, type it in, something that lets somebody know you're there and you're in need of a conversation. There's a lot going on during, with direct messaging and private messaging and things like that. Yes.
I'd like to take this opportunity, if it's okay, in the interest of time, because I think we get to venture onto a very, very big and even more serious topic, and that is the suicidal thoughts and the suicidal tendencies. I have to say that in my lifetime, I've thought about that a handful of times. I have actually a scar. So, I, at one point, decided I was going to try and slice my wrists. I was not successful, obviously, thank God.
Yeah.
And so that was in 2000. That was in 2012 that I did that. No, 2011 was when I did that, and that was a huge wake-up call for me. And I wasn't myself when I was doing that. I was high on Ambien. I was high on Ambien. And so, and I've had a couple instances before where I tried to do that. So and that's my way of sharing that I can relate very well to those thoughts and tendencies. And so where would you like to start with that topic, Doc Heather? I'm not even sure what question to ask, other than where would you like to start with that topic?
Well, I want to start with thank you for being vulnerable and honest that you were, that you had attempted. Okay. So many people are scared to even admit it. So many people are just in a hurt place. And I want to say this physician is going to take you seriously. Meaning, if you come to me and you don't know what to say, I need just a nonverbal, a grab your chest, anything, and I'm going to start asking you questions. Okay. I want to know that, because that's something huge. Like when you're in that place where you think your life is no longer valuable, no longer worth it, no longer necessary, I want you to notify me. Period. I mean, I can stop right there. Notify me, non-verbally, text me, message me. I am Doc Heather everywhere on social media. Okay. So, and I really put this out because I'm serious. I want people to notify me. I have been overseas and literally called the United States back to a local sheriff's. We can worry about the gist of it later. Okay. That's where I want to start. So thank you for being vulnerable to express it, because you're not the only one. And I want to really say this too. If anybody saw the interview with Prince Harry and Meghan, is it Meghan Markle? When she actually acknowledged, and I thought that was so huge. She actually acknowledged that she was going through so much trauma and disconnection that she even considered suicide. Like, this is not, I'm saying this because this is not a small effect. Like, this is a human thing. This is not like a, you get to be anybody. You get to be everybody and possibly have this thought. I want that to sit with you. This gets to be professionals. This gets to be doctors. This gets to be lawyers. This gets to be moms. This gets to be daughters, right? This gets to be sons, husbands, like Prince, Duchess, Dutch. You get to be whoever you are and possibly have these thoughts. Wow, that is a human thing.
It is a human thing. Yeah. Go ahead, sister.
And not only is it a human thing and something that I feel we go through on our own, as someone who's also been in that position and wanted quite a few times in my past to commit suicide on multiple occasions, especially in a narcissistically abusive relationship. Could we connect that to not only dealing with our own dynamic and the healing that needs to be and gets to be had on our own, but then when you bring in another dynamic and another energy and how that affects that and what we can do to elevate from that and choose differently.
Absolutely. And I love that you pulled that in. So here's the thing. More than likely, if you're in that narcissistic relationship and you've given this thought, it's because you felt there was no way out, right? You thought there was no other way out. You thought there was no better way out. You thought there was no easier way out. And I'm here to say there's always another way. And I have actually labeled my workshop The Great Escape. Okay, The Great Escape. And I know you all called it the getaway, to get out. And that's the thing. I don't ever want you all to think, or anyone, human being, to think that their life is not valuable enough to live it, period, regardless of the reason. And I've always challenged or held people high to say, hey, if you're thinking about it, call me, contact me, and let me give you at least one reason. And if I can come up with one reason why you're valuable, then you get to keep living. Okay, we get to keep finding reasons. So to bring it back to the narcissistic relationship, I get it. What happens with the narcissistic relationship? You're the Energizer bunny, and then all of a sudden you become this person who continues to hit walls and hit walls and hit walls and hit walls, right? You're, like I said, you're this blooming flower, beautiful butterfly, and all of a sudden you're just a moth and dark and just wilting and dead. Your energy is declined. So I get it. You're barely holding on to life because this other human being is sucking the life out of you, is sucking the energy out of you. And I love the fact that you all have named it Elevate. Elevate your energy. And that's what we have to do. And it can be slow. It's okay. The point is that it gets to be, right? It gets to be elevation. And that starts simply by, like I told you, if you make up that mind, one choice, I want to live. One choice. You go to cut yourself and you're like, you know what? Instead of me cutting myself and sitting in this tub of water, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to let that knife go, that whatever sharp item go, and I'm going to sit in this water and love on myself. I'm going to feel every bit of that warm water molecule. I'm going to think, how did this warm water molecule just go over my body and touch every skin molecule, and how the skin molecule is going to get. I mean, when you start thinking of your body and the art of it, wow. And before you know it, you're so distracted You've probably come up with some great ideal, right? And if nothing else is a distraction for the moment, then you get up and you contact one of us, right? You let us know, hey, I gave this thought and this is what I need to do. And I hope that if you've gotten that far, you realize that your choice is saying, hey, this relationship isn't working. This job is not worth it. The life is worth it. My life is worth it. But this job that is draining me, I continue to do my best. I show up every morning early. I go home later than anybody else. That boss will not give me the promotion, will not acknowledge me for the things that I'm doing. That's not worth it.
Yeah.
But life is.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, it's often the case, right, that people that are diagnosed with having depression, that there's an association of the suicidal tendencies. When we first connected with you, Doc Heather, to talk about you coming on to be interviewed, you shared your own experience and insights around depression. Can you get into that for our audience?
Absolutely. Okay, you're asking me to take off the layers. Okay, here it is. So here I am, a high accomplished person, and I love it. I am successful, and I'm so thankful for it, okay? And I got to a point where I wasn't able to wake up and, get dressed. I wasn't able to get out and drive 2 miles. And so what happened was, clinically, the doctors, not knowing me, they diagnosed me with major, which is the highest you can be diagnosed with, major depression. And usually it comes with anxiety. And like you said, there could be tendencies and things like that. And as the time went on, I realized I was not mentally present to what was happening. I was going through the motions. I was so used to just doing things robotically. And as I started to come into tune, like I said, as I sit in that bathtub and I'm taking that warm body, bubble bath, and you start thinking about the molecules, I started to realize my energy is completely depleted. So it wasn't my brain, really. I had visions. I had my heart still pumping, but instead of pumping with passion, invigorated and like, yes, I'm alive, it was like having heart attacks every other 10 minutes. What is the sharp pain I'm having, right? So it wasn't really depression. It was depletion. It was draining. And why was I being drained? Because I was giving and giving and giving and was not being replenished. I was not tapping into any type of resource that could replenish and rejuvenate me. So again, that's why the bathtub is a very great analogy for me, because it gives you time for self. And a lot of us who fall or who come victim or who are a part of a narcissistic relationship, we are so giving and open and generous, we forget to be generous to number one.
Mm-hmm.
We have to put our mask on first. And that was there before pandemic. Put your mask on first before you can assist someone else. Okay. So Remember that. It can appear depressed because you're down and everybody's like, hey, doc, what, you used to be like running marathons and now we can't even get you out of the car good enough. Right?
Right. Yeah.
And that's, again, it looks like a depression. It's like, what is this? Like, I used to have this drained color in my face and they would tell me like, there's no light in you, literally. And then when you come back alive and there's like, oh, there's blood there. There's a glow. There's a difference. That's not depression. That's depletion.
Wow.
It's a physiological difference and an energetic difference.
Absolutely.
Level. Like energy centers affected within and in our auric field. Everything's affected by that.
Yes. As you mentioned, the holistic healer. So I'm going to tell everybody here, I am a traditionally trained allopathic MD physician. Okay. And here in the United States, people travel to this country to be trained allopathic MD style. And I have stepped out and said, no, there are other ways. There are always alternative ways. And that is one of them. So yes, as you go to the physicians, You can ask questions. You can bring up bring up thoughts. Hey, doc, do you really think this is depression? What can I do? And they give you a pill. You don't have to take just that pill. You can go and seek a second opinion. Okay. So I want you to know that there are so many providers that have alternative methods of assessing, diagnosing, and treating. Okay.
I've been on antidepressants myself, and it was nice to just not feel anything. I remember I was like, oh, it's so nice to not feel so emotional about stuff and go like this and actually function. But then was introduced Adderall and then sleep medications, and then I couldn't eat, and it just was like a cycle. Yeah. Sister, would it be okay if we opened up the floor to some questions? We have.
Yeah, I would love to here. Let's put that. Let's get some engagement in here.
And I want to mention while you're doing that, if you do decide to take medication, I'm not a pill pusher. I'm not a pharmacist, and I'm not a pill pusher. Okay, but if you are going to take the and that may be necessary for a few moments, few months, but group it with therapy. There is individual therapy. They now have telehealth therapy. You can talk to somebody on the phone, video chat, group therapies. There are support teams. It's in my opinion, it is my belief that it's not enough to just take a pill. It's not going to just pill away. No. You need connection, social connection.
Absolutely. So I'm looking here. I don't see that are we live here? I'm not
sure. I don't see the stream into Facebook, and that's okay. We do have some people in the audience here. We have a couple people in the audience. I don't want to say their names in case they don't want to be called out, but you guys have joined, and we trust that you've connected with this conversation for specific reasons. And so we open up the floor for you to come on and ask any questions that are coming up for you of Dr. Heather. So if you'd like, please raise your hand, and we can either just have you speak, or you can join us on stage, whichever you're comfortable with. So let us know if you have questions.
Yes, I'm loving it. I would love to have connection, engagement.
Oh, wow. Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah. So if you have any questions, there's also a chat. We're trying this for the first time in a new platform. So if you have any questions in the chat, you can also type it in there if you don't want to come on camera.
Yeah. And if you're not comfortable, let me see. Let me see. I wonder if there's a way that you can. I imagine there's some questions there, and what I'm picking up on is maybe there's a little uncomfortableness, and this is a safe space.
It is. Confidentiality still plays a part. I want to put this out here if you don't mind. So here's the thing. I want to be able to give this audience connection to me, and I do have a free gift. So I'm just going to post it in the Facebook group after this is completed, okay? And absolutely, go ahead.
I was going to add to Doc Heather, we can also include it in our, when we email our list about this episode. We'll include it in there too, because what you share and what you are offering is so powerful, so needed. Thank you.
So, and if there's no questions, is it okay? Because let's switch it up a little bit. First of all, again, suicide is definitely anti-suicide is definitely my word.
Yeah, we have a question.
We have a request from Mariel. Hand mic. There we go.
Okay, so
he's joining us. Yes.
Hello. Hi, Mariel. Good to see you. Can you hear us? Okay. Oh, there you are. Hi there.
So do you see my picture?
We
No,
can't
no
see
picture.
your face, but we can hear you well.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay.
All
Oh,
right,
perfect.
Miriam. This is
Hi,
awesome.
Miriam.
So I have a man who seems to be interested in me, but he does not identify himself, so he goes through other people. So he finds who are the people in my network, then he asks questions through them. Like, do you want to go out with a man that is like this, like that, like that? Would you go out with a man who has a wife who is sick and not at home, let's say in assisted living or something? And I can't convince people to stop doing this. It annoys me because it's been going on for 12 years.
Wow.
And it doesn't stop because I think people think it would be good for me because he says he has a lot of money. But I say I don't need any money, but because I live in a very simple manner, but it doesn't stop. And so I'm really like I feel like stopping to talk to those what they call in the narcissistic world the flying monkeys, but then I'll have nobody left.
Well, Muriel, so I hear you saying basically right now those people who are relaying these questions to you or messages to you are somewhat your connections, and right now maybe your only connections.
Well, some I've been my friends for 40 years. Some, you know, I've been going to the Buddhist temple for 6 years with. They're all good people with good intentions. But I think they're a bit naive, and I suspect it's one of my second cousins, and he's a salesman. So he can be actually his brother told me it was him because it's a sort of toxic family and they all accuse each other of things.
Wow.
So, and he was my mother's godson. So he was at my mother's funeral. So he met a lot of my close friends. And, so I don't know how to be free from this, you know?
Well, let me ask you this. It sounds like some of these people you see in person, but would you be open to meeting new people?
I meet people all the time.
Okay. And so are you feeling kind of guilty for if you want? So let me ask you, what is your instinct telling you? What's your intuition telling you about these people who have kind of, you know, continued to ask questions over the last 12 years and it sounds like you've told them, hey, I don't want to do this. What's your instinct telling you about them?
Well, some of them, you know, I really took a big distance.
Okay.
I know 2 of them told me that they were codependent. So I know, and they know they have a problem. And so I'm taking a distance, but he seems to find out the new people I meet.
Oh, wow. Well, okay. So here's what I'm going to say to you. I absolutely think you have a right to protect and set boundaries. Okay. So if there are people who are not respecting those boundaries, I think your instinct is right to distance yourself from them. Okay. Now, if this person is still continuously sounds like maybe harassing you, then you may need to elevate to a next security level, right? And maybe get authorities involved. Is it a harassment, something that you can maybe disconnect social from? or do you need to take it to, like the police authority? Things, does that make sense?
I've tried everything I could think of. I phoned the police because I was receiving some phone calls that were anonymous and silent.
Mm-hmm.
And so I phoned the police and they asked me about my mental health.
Wow.
So,
well, you know what I would definitely document. So that's a huge one too. Whenever you're dealing with such a thing, and narcissism is a huge one of these things that will make you, people question your mental status, your mental ability, because they're going to make it seem like you're the crazy one. Documentation. So if you can document the time of these calls, record some of the calls, if there is a number, so you have a log of things, and then to some extent is just honestly be in a protective bubble. So if it gets to a point of frustration and you're saying, hey, I've changed my phone number, I've talked to the authorities, they don't believe me, which definitely happens, then some you just ignore. And it really, unfortunately, just comes to that simple act. You just ignore. If it is an unknown phone number to you, you ignore it. If they can't leave you a message, your friends and family and loved ones will know, hey, we have to leave her a message to make sure that she knows it's us. Does that make sense? Because what we don't want you to do is not be safe.
yeah.
So you brought up a very good point. Thank you. That sometimes, when we're in these narcissistic relationships, that's another point and part of the gift of where they hang out. And law enforcement is a huge one. And they get people to believe that you're the one stalking them. You're the one causing them problems. And so documentation. There's so many things around today. Video cam, electronic recorders, digital recorders. So I know it may be like, darn it, why do I have to do this? But again, remember, protect yourself. Put your mask on first. Okay. Safety. And then enroll some of your friends that are genuine, your friends, and have not, have respected your boundaries, to kind of be there for you, be there with you in this. Does that make sense?
So far, I didn't find
All right. It just takes one.
Wow, that's so powerful. Thank you so much, Doc Heather. And thank you, Mariel, for sharing so vulnerably. And we trust you, got so much value from next steps to take and how to handle this. So thanks for coming on and being with us and asking your question.
Thank you.
Thank you for your possibility.
All right. Wow, that was really wonderful.
Yeah.
It's kind of going in and out there. Okay, we are still live. All right, so this is perfect timing, and this has just been really, really wonderful, Doc Heather. We've gotten into so much juiciness and, wow, so many things really today that were gone over. And for me personally, even, just to remember and really bring some things up to light that get to be remembered, to keep your sovereignty, really, your sovereign field, and really keep those boundaries. And, I think so many people were helped by this and supported by today's conscious conversation. So thank you so much, Doc Heather, and thank you, sister, for all your shares and on this whole space. This is just so wonderful. I'm glad to be here with you all and our LGBT community.
Yes, I'm thankful that you all allowed me the space and time to share my message and to share my experience. And I'm just honored. And I look forward, because here's the thing, I plan on coming back into the group, replying to any comments or questions that come up. And like I said, I will definitely post the link to the freebie and how you can connect with me. And I look forward to us having fun. We didn't even get into the fun stuff, right? The money, the abundance, you got to have it back so we can talk about it.
Can we please talk about that? We have a few more minutes.
Okay.
Let's get some fun abundance stuff. Yes, let's transmute everything.
One of the biggest questions is a lot of time people think, you know, oh my gosh, money, money, money. Well, I want to say that money, just like blood, is common amongst all of us. No matter, I don't care what anybody says. I've seen plenty of cultures, plenty of people to know that blood is the same. Okay. Blood is the same. Currency. If you go to a different country, currency and money are something we can pretty much all agree on. If people are willing to generously give it to us, we will take it. We can always use a little more. We can always do something else with it, right? And I want you to know this. When we say there's not enough, there is enough. And we can equate this to love. I wanted to ask this in my community and say this. If you give out, is there ever a time where you would run out of love? It's like running out of handshakes. Like you can't, you know, you run out of handshakes? No. You can't run out of love. You really can't. Now, there could be people who will push you away, who will deny you. I don't want to have it. But you're not going to run out. Really, you're not going to run out.
Because you're of infinite value, just as you are.
Perfect. Beautiful.
Oh, well, thank you for that, Doc Heather. What an inspiring way to end our conscious conversation.
Yes.
Today.
Yes.
We'll be back, everyone. You know, stay tuned for our next conscious conversations. We usually have them weekly, so stay tuned in our group. You know, Dr. Heather will be in responding and sharing her gifts, and we'll be back in too with more fun. We have a workshop coming up tomorrow, so no doubt you guys will see that tomorrow. And yeah, stay tuned in the group. We love you all. Would you like to add?
Yes. Oh, well, thank you, sister. Doc Heather will actually be with us at our March live stream event at the end of the month, Saturday and Sunday, March 27th and 28th. And so she will be there sharing more of her insights and her wisdoms and her healing and her mindset coaching and her life strategy type stuff. So powerful. So stay tuned for that. And I believe that's it. Thank you, everyone. So much love. Namaste.
All right. Thank you, Doc Heather. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Take care.